Okay, so I believe it's on. So hi everyone, please come in. I'll give you 30 kind of seconds for you to come in. 안녕하세요, 여러분. 안녕하세요. Please come in. 안녕하세요. Okay, so I can see that everyone's coming in the live chat. So hello, thank you guys for joining. Hello. I prepared a lot for this lesson, so thank you so much guys for joining. Okay, so I will begin the lesson. So today's lyrics are from the song You Never Know by Blackpink, and I chose this particular song from their new album because the level of Korean used in this song is not way too far off from where we're at. It's not too difficult and it's not too basic, so they will help the class to be not too challenging, but still we are learning something new that I didn't cover in my previous lessons. So yeah, that's the main reason I chose this song, and I also thought the content of the lyrics are at least partially what we can also relate to on a personal level. So yes, I thought it was overall a great song to do lesson with. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so everybody can hear me, right? I have to make sure my microphone is working properly. I assume everybody can hear me. Okay, so now I will start the lesson. So let's look at the first part first. 애써서 활짝 웃었던 날에. So I'm not going to sing for you guys. I'm assuming that you guys already have checked out the original song, and I am not a good singer, so I am not going to sing for you guys, but we are going to learn Korean based off these lyrics. 애써서 활짝 웃었던 날에 밤은 왜 더 어두울까? Okay, so let me fold this paper in half and then look at it. Okay, so we're going to look at this part first, the second one, because it's a lot easier than the first one. So 밤 means night, 왜 means why, 더 means more, and then 어두울까? 밤은 night, why more? 어두울까? So 어두울까 is a combination of 어둡다, which means to be dark, and the question ending 리을 받침 or 을까. And I believe we have covered this question ending 리을 을까. So let's look at it again. So when you're asking question with 리을 or 을까 expression, so you combine it with the verb stem. This is a stem. This has two meanings. Firstly, it's a suggestion. It's a suggestion that means shall we verb, shall we. So you can say it like this. 같이 공부하다, right? Study. 공부할까? 같이 공부할까? Okay, let me zoom it out a bit. 같이 공부할까? Together, study, shall we? So shall we study together? So it can be a meaning of suggestion, but it also means, it's also a question of wondering to oneself, right? Do you remember? Wondering to oneself. So you are asking this question not necessarily to get a response back, but you are saying this because you are wondering it to yourself. So here in this lyrics, it means the second thing, the second one, the question of wondering to oneself. So it means, why is the night more darker? Why is the night darker? And then you can finish the sentence by looking at the first lyric. Why is the night darker? 날에, in the day. 날에, in the day. So 날 here means day, and a is a particle that we learned. It can also mark the time, but it can also mark the place, right? And it marks the time. the day, in the day. But here, some of you might have questioned regarding the difference between 날 and 하루. 날 and 하루. So 하루 and 날 both mean day, a day. But 하루 is more like a general day of 24 hours, a general day. Just like any other days, general days of 24 hours. Whereas 날 is more used in the context where you're describing a specific day. So it is usually accompanied with the modifier. So for example, if you want to say a holiday is not like any other days. It's not 하루, it's a special day, right? So for holiday, we say 쉬는 날. 쉬는 날. And we learned the verb modifier, right? I mean, the verb as a modifier, right? We put 는. So this is a verb modifier. So 쉬다 verb, to take a break, combined with the modifying suffix, and then 날. So it means the day where we take a rest. So it means holiday. And you can also write it like this. 비가 오는 날. 비가 오는 날. A day where it rains. It's a rainy day. 비가 오는 날. So 비가 오는 하루 means, it also means a day when it rains, but it is more often used with 날 when you are talking about a specific day, not like any other days. I hope you understand what I mean. So yes, that is the difference between 날 and 하루. And here in this lyrics as well, they are talking about a specific day, right? Specific day. So let's see what specific day they're talking about. So in the day when 애써서 활짝 웃었던. So here you can see 던 suffix. If you guys have taken my previous lesson that covers the verb, modifying verb, right? Verb as a modifier. You remember that I briefly mentioned 던 suffix. Do you remember? 던 suffix. And this is pretty important because there are many parts where they use 던 suffix. So I'm going to underline it with the yellow color pencil. 웃었던, 내뱉던, 꿈꾸던. Here 던 is used as well. 춤추던. There are more. So let's make sure that we underline everything first. 숨겼던, and then 던, where is 던? 그려왔던, 싫었던. Okay, so there are many 던 suffix in this lyrics, as you can see. So this is one of the most important parts of today's lesson. So I briefly mentioned that 던 suffix is used after a verb to make it a past tense modifier. Do you remember? Past tense modifier. Okay. And there are many ways where you can make a verb into a past tense modifier. Do you remember? We learned that by putting 니은 받침 or 은 after a verb stem, it also becomes a meaning of past tense, right? Past tense modifier. But this is also another way, putting 던 suffix. So you can say 내가 사랑한 여자 to mean the woman that I loved, right? Loved, right? It's a past tense. Whereas if you want to say the woman I love, I currently love, you can say 사랑하는, right? You have to put the 는 suffix. We already learned this in our previous lesson. So if you're not really following it, make sure to check out that lesson. But so that's how you can make the verb as a modifier in present tense and past tense. But you can also combine the stem with ton suffix. So you can combine the stem with ton suffix. Or what you can also do is you can conjugate the verb stem in past form. So I'll just write it past stem and then put ton. Both mean past tense. Both are modifiers in a past tense. So here, 웃었던. Can you guys guess what verb is combined? What verb is combined here? 웃다 we learned. Okay, 웃다 we learned means to smile and to laugh, but here it means to smile. And 웃었다 is obviously the past form of 웃다, right? So it means smiled. So if you want to make these the verb smile into a past tense modifier, you can say 웃음, right? But you can also say 웃던. You can just mix the stem with ton, or you can also conjugate it in past stem and say 웃었 and then put ton. So these are all verb as a modifier in past tense. So here, 웃었던 means the day that I smiled. It's in past form, right? That I smiled. And let's look at the rest of the lyrics. 애써서 활짝 웃었던. So 활짝 here, guys, is a mimetic word. It's a mimetic word. So I am not sure how many of you are familiar with this term, mimetic word. But, so have you guys heard of I forgot that. Omnotopia? So, okay, sorry guys. So mimetic words are kind of an adverb that describes the movement or the physical attribute of the action. So by putting 활짝 before 웃다, it has a meaning of to smile widely. That doesn't mean 활짝 itself means widely. That doesn't mean this 활짝 can go with any other verbs, but when it follows the verb 웃다, it means it adds more detail to the movement, to the action of smiling, and it means to smile widely. So it kind of means to beam. So you guys are giving me a hint. Onomatopoeia, yes, guys. So onomatopoeia, let me see how I can spell it from you guys' comment. Onomatopoeia describes the sound of something, whereas mimetic words doesn't describe the sound, but it gives more detail to how the action is done. The magnitude of the action or how the action looks like. It gives more detail to the action, not the sound. Do you guys know what I mean? So 활짝 웃다 means to beam widely. 활짝 is used very often with the verb 웃다. So in the days that I smiled widely, 애써서. So 애써서 here comes from the verb 애쓰다. And 애쓰다 means to try hard. So in the dictionary, it says to exert or to train oneself to reach a certain goal, to reach a challenging goal. So it's safe to translate it to try hard. Even in situations when you don't feel like it, you try hard. And 애써서 is an adverb of 애쓰다. Oh no, sorry, I shouldn't explain it like this. It's not an adverb, but it means... So 서, I'm not sure if we covered this in our 서 conjunction lesson, but 애써서 means by trying hard. By trying hard, so it adds a meaning of simultaneousness at the same time. So by trying hard, by trying hard to beam widely in those kinds of days, why is the night feel more darker? So that's the meaning of the first lyrics. I hope you got what I mean. And it keeps bringing me down, down, down. And let's move on to the next part of the lyrics. 모두 너무 쉽게 내뱉던 말. And here also 던 suffix is used, right? So we're going to look at this first. 말, we learned, means words, as in your speech, your verbal speech, right? Your words. And 내뱉던 is obviously the combination of the verb 내뱉다 and the suffix 던, right? So it's a past modifier. And 내뱉다. So there's a difference between 뱉다 and 내뱉다. So 뱉다 means to spit. But to spit some tangible things. So usually in English, to spit means to spit your saliva, right? So in Korean, we say it like this, to spit one's saliva. So this means to spit, but it can also be used with nouns like 음식, food. 음식을 뱉다. 음식을 뱉다 means to spit out food. So 뱉다 can be used when you're spitting out tangible things, but 내뱉다 also means to spit, but it is more used when you're talking about words, something non-tangible. So words are something that we can't see, right? So that's why 내뱉다 is used to modify the words. So words that spat out, and who spat it out? 모두. 모두 means everything, and here it means everyone. So it means people. Everyone spat out. So the words that everyone spat out, 너무 쉽게, to, 쉽다, easy, 쉽게, easily. So it becomes an adverb, 쉽게. So we learned that usually, most of the time, when an adjective is either combined with 게 or 이 or some other suffixes, it turns into an adverb. So depending on the adjective, the suffix that comes after it is different. So for example, 많다 means to be many, and 많이 is an adverb that means a lot. And here, 이 suffix is used, but in 쉽게, 게 suffix is used, right? So what suffix is put after an adjective to make into an adverb differs from that adjective. So there is no one rule. You have to get used to those many adjectives. Do you know what I mean? So 쉽게 means easily. 모두, everyone, to easily spat out the words that everyone spat out easily. 아마 들리겠지, 머지않아. 아마 들리겠지, 머지않아. So let's paraphrase this sentence into in an easier way, I guess. So 아마 들리겠지, 머지않아. You can paraphrase it like this. 아마 곧 나에게 들리겠지. So see what I did there? 아마 곧 means soon, as you guys remember. And 머지않아 means 곧. So 머지않아 is a more advanced expression, so I change it to 곧. 아마 means maybe. 아마 곧 나에게 to me 들리겠지. So do you guys remember the verb 들리다? 들리다 versus 듣다. So 듣다 means to hear. It's an active verb, right? So a person hears, but 들리다 is a passive verb that means to be heard. So it means something is heard, right? So the thing that is heard to me is the words that people easily spit out, right? So those kinds of words will maybe soon to me be heard. 들리겠지. So 들리겠지 is a combination of 들리다 and the sentence ending 겠지. 겠지. And this looks kind of familiar, right? So it looks kind of similar to 겠어, verb 겠어, but they differ in meaning. So 겠어 is used, both are sentence ending, and it is used when you are expressing your determination or decision for the future. Determination or decision for the future, whereas 겠지 is more like a guess or prediction for the future, but you are almost certain of it. You're almost certain of it. So I'm almost certain that words may soon be heard to me. The words that people have been spitting out so easily. So that is the meaning of the second verse. And moving on to the next part of the lyrics. 온 세상이 바뀌어 가도 나는 아직 그대로인걸. Okay, so, wow. Here, another important part of today's grammar appears. So we just underlined the 던 suffix in yellow marker, right? And now, let's mark this verb in pink color. There is a reason. So we're going to go in depth to it soon, but to briefly mention what we're about to get into, it's called auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb, and previously I explained it like verb combination. Verb combination. Does it ring a bell to you guys? We already learned some of the verb combination. For example, 주다, right? So you conjugate the stem, the verb, in present tense, right? And then put 주다 or 보다. And we learned already what kind of meanings these auxiliary verbs give to the verb, right? So we are not going to cover that again. If you have forgotten about it, then you can go back to those lessons. They're already on my channel to learn about this. But there are more auxiliary verbs. And here in this lyrics, there are many auxiliary verbs that are used. And you can see 바뀌어 가도. It's a combination of 바뀌다 plus 가다. And also 엉켜 버리다. This is also the auxiliary verb. And I will get to it in depth soon, guys, so don't worry about it. I'm just checking it in advance so that I can clearly mark where those verbs are. 괴롭히지만 낡은 생각들 알아주다. So 주다 is what we already learned. And 부셔오다, 오다, 길어지다, 밝아지다. And 가라앉으면 okay, so we are going to skip this part. Okay, let's skip this part. 그려왔던, 그려오다 is also the auxiliary verb. 찢어버리다, 비워내다. So there are many auxiliary verbs as you can see here, right? And okay, so sorry guys, let me use a different piece of paper. So you conjugate a verb in present tense, and then you put the auxiliary verb 가다, 가다, and let's learn what 가다 auxiliary verb adds to the previous verb. So, okay. I had a good explanation written out here. 가다. Oh, okay. So, 가다 here is an auxiliary verb that indicates that the motion is away from the speaker. Away from the speaker. So, consequently, 가다 auxiliary verb expresses a, let me write it here, continuous action that goes into the future. So continuous action that goes into the future. So how you can use it is, okay, sorry about that, guys. Let me clear some things from the live chat. I haven't been checking live chat, guys. I'm so sorry about that. I will make sure to block some of the people that's crossing the line. Okay, so thank you so much for paying attention and also warning each other to focus on class. So thank you so much, guys. It means a lot. The moderator, Robin, is not here, guys. She's at school, so she couldn't help me out today. But you guys trying to help me out is really just, it's so great. It's so sweet of you. I appreciate it very much. And I would also very much like to focus on class. So let's continue, guys. I'm sorry. Okay, so continuous action that goes into the future. So how you can use it is 영화가 끝나다 means to end, and 끝나 is the present form. 끝나가요. Okay, so 가다 is used with the verb 끝나다, right? And here, can you guess what this means? So it means that 끝나다, to end, is a continuous action that goes into the future. So that means the movie is getting toward the end. So it hasn't ended yet, but it's getting there to the future, right? To the future end. So that's what it means. And also you can write it like this. 아이가, the child, 엄마를 닮아가요. Child, mom를, 닮아 is from 닮다, which means to resemble 가요. So it means the child is becoming more like her mom. The child is getting there to the future of becoming like her mom, and the child is on that process. So he is getting more like her mom. So 가다 auxiliary verb can be used like this. 가다. So can you guys now guess what 바뀌어가다 means? 바뀌어가다. So here, 바뀌어 is a present form of 바뀌다, which means to be changed. So it's a little bit different from, okay, maybe I should have written it in a different piece of paper, but oh well. 바뀌다 means to be changed. So it has a meaning of passiveness, right? And 바꾸다 means to change. So a person 바꾸다 something, and something is 바뀌다. So it's passive and active. So 바뀌다, to be changed, 가도. So 바뀌어가다 means something keeps changing. Something is in the process of being changed. It's present progressive, right? It's still progressive. 바뀌어가다. It's still changing. And 도, we learned, is a conjunction that comes from 그래도, right? This is not a particle 도, right? Not a particle 도, but a conjunction 도, which is placed after a verb, right? So it means even if. So even if it keeps changing on, what keeps changing on? 온 세상이. So 온 세상 means the whole world. The whole world. And you might be confused with, you might mix it up with 전 세계. So 전 세계 also means the whole world. But 온 세상 and 전 세계 has a very different nuance to it, and I wouldn't say they are the same word in Korean. So 전 세계, so 세계 means the world. So 세계 means the world as in geographical world. Geographical world. So 세계 means the whole country. Whole country. And it also means realm as well. But 세상 itself is a more abstract concept of the world. So it just means any outer world. Any outer world. Whereas 세계 means a specific world, the geographical world or the realm. Whereas 세상 is just the overall outer world. So it could be your outer world or my outer world. It has that vagueness to its meaning, but yes, it means the outer world in general, and it's different from 세계. So the whole world keeps changing. Even if the whole world keeps changing, 온 세상이 바뀌어가도 아직 나는 그대로인 걸. 아직 나는 그대로인 걸. Okay, so 아직 has two meanings. It means still and yet. And if the verb that is used with 아직 is positive, then it means still. And if the verb that is used with 아직 is negative, then it means yet. So, for example, 제프가 아직 안 왔어요. 아직 안 왔어요. And it's a negation of the verb, right? So haven't come yet, right? So the verb is in negative form, so it means yet. But if you say 나는 아직 너를 사랑해. 나는 아직 너를 사랑해. What do you guys think 아직 means here? 나는, me, I, you, love, still, right? So to love is a positive verb, right? So it means still, and 아직 here means yet. Okay, so 아직, 나는 그대로인 걸. So there is no negativeness in the verb here. So 아직 here means still. So even if the whole world keeps changing, still 나는 그대로인 걸. So there has to be a bit of a change in the form for this word, 그대로인 걸, this phrase. So 그대로인 걸 is actually the standard form. The standardly correct form is 그대로인 걸. But they just happen to abbreviate 로인 to 론 because it's a song, right? They have to follow a certain beat, right? But 그대로인 걸 is the correct phrase. And 그대로, guys, 그대로 is an important word that is used a lot. So 그대로 means as it is. As that is, or as one is. So as a person is, or as something is, without change. Without change. So it kind of means it's the same. The same as before. The same as before. So it is comparing it to what used to be. So it's the same as what used to be. That's what 그대로, this three-lettered word means. 그대로. So it actually comes from 나온 대로. And 대로 is a particle that means according to noun or following noun, as noun. So 그 here we learn means that. So its literal meaning is as that. But it is used to mean it is the same as before. 그대로인 그대로인걸, 그대로인걸. So 그대로인걸 is a combination of 그대로이다, 니은 받침 or 은, 걸. This sentence ending. So this sentence ending is actually not used that often in daily conversation. I think it's more used in like novels or lyrics, but not much in daily conversation. But it basically doesn't have a special meaning other than saying that, you know, that's how it is. That's how it is, or, you know, that's true. Kind of like that. So this is not a very, very important sentence ending, so I will skip the whole explanation here. But that's what it means. That's how it is. 그대로인걸. So it's reporting the truth. Reporting the truth. And what is the truth? 그대로이다. The same. 이다 verb, be verb, right? So is the same, or am the same, right? And you take out 다 and then combine 그대로이 with 니은 받침 걸. So it became 그대로인걸. I am the same. 아직 still 나는 그대로인걸. I'm still the same. And GRK, I have checked your message, and yes, you can go, and thank you very much for the kind words, but I would appreciate it if you don't spam the chat, the live chat window. And thank you very much, and thank you for joining, even for the first half. And so yes, that's what the lyrics of this part means, and let's move on to the next part. 내가 걸어가는 이 길을 꿈꾸던 그때 그대로 내가 걸어가는 so I forgot to put the pink color for this one because this is also an auxiliary verb. So 내가 걸어가는 이 길을 꿈꾸던. So let's take care of 걸어가다 first. 걸어가다 first. I'm pretty sure that you can guess what 걸어가다 means now. So 걸어가다 is a combination of 걷다 with the present verb and then 가다. We learned about this auxiliary verb just now in this part, right? 바뀌어 가다. So it indicates that the action is placed away from the speaker. Let me check this part again. The motion move away from the speaker. So it means that this action is a continuous action that goes into the future, right? Do you guys remember? So 걷다 means to walk. 걷다 means to walk. And 걷다's present form is 걸어. So as you can see, this is also the irregular verb. 걸어가다. To continue walking, right? To continue walking. But here, I think just saying 걷는 is, there's no problem by saying it. 내가 걷는, there's no problem at all. But here, 걸어가는 is used. So, yeah, so it basically means 내가 걸어가는 이 길, this path, 이 길, this path that I am walking right now, that I am continuing to walk right now. So the path that I am on, 을 꿈꾸던. So the path that I am on is an adjective. The object, right? The path that I'm on is an object of 꿈꾸다. 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 Do you guys remember what 꿈꾸다 means? 꿈꾸다. It means to dream. So, 꿈 is actually a noun that means a dream. And you should say 꿈꾸다, not just 꾸다, to mean to dream. The verb to dream. 꿈꾸다, just like to dance in Korean, is not 추다, but 춤추다. So 춤 is a noun that means dance. So literally it means to dream a dream and to dance a dance, but you cannot just write the verb to mean to dream and to dance because that would be incomplete. You have to write it with 꿈꾸다, 춤추다. To dream a dream, to dance a dance. So 꿈꾸다 means to dream. 꿈꾸던. So it means that I dreamt because it was in past form, the past form modifier, right? That I dreamed. And dream what? This object. The path that I'm walking on, that I have dreamt. 그때 그대로. 그때 그대로. 그때 그대로. So 그때 means that time. So back in that time. 그때 그대로. We learn what it means here, right? 그대로 means the same. As I was back then. As I was back then. And what kind of back then? That I have dreamt of the path that I'm walking on, right? So so it means, so you guys get what I mean, right? So it's hard to translate in English accurately because we have to finish the whole sentence for it to make sense in English, right? So let's continue with the next part, and then we'll do the whole translation of this whole part of the lyrics. So 내가 걸어가는 이 길을 꿈꾸던 그때 그대로, same as back then when I have dreamt of this path that I am on currently. 매일을 춤추던 처음 그 자리에 남아 있는 걸. So 내 매일을 춤추던. So this is kind of a poetic expression. 내 매일을 춤추던. That doesn't really make sense grammatically because you cannot dance your everyday, right? So it doesn't make sense grammatically, but this is a good poetic form of a sentence. So 처음 그 자리. So let's look at the noun first. That 자리. 자리 means seat, first of all, but it also means a spot or a place or even a position. But I think here it means the place, right? The abstract place, not the place that we can see, but the abstract concept of place, right? So that place, what kind of that place? 처음. 처음 means first. First, and there are many ways to say first with different usage, but we're going to get to that in another lesson. But 처음 means first. So that first place where I danced my everyday, that first place where I danced, the past form, right? My everyday. 처음 그 자리. 처음 그 자리에 남아 있는 걸. 처음 그 자리에 남아 있는 걸. 남아 있는 걸. So a here is obviously a place marking particle. So at that place where I dance my everyday, 남아 있는 걸. So 는 걸 here is a sentence ending that we just learned, right? That we just learned here, right? 그대로인 걸. We learned that this doesn't have like a very special or specific meaning other than, that's how it is, that's the truth, right? So, yes, I remain, 남아있다 means to remain, to stay, remaining, or like to remain. So actually there is more of a grammar involved in 남아있다. So 남다 has a lot of meanings, but its first meaning is to stay, to remain somewhere. And when a certain verbs conjugated in present form are combined with 있다, it means the verb stays where it is. It stays doing the verb. So the most common words used in this expression is 서 있다 or 앉아있다. 서있다 or 앉아있다. So 서 is a present verb of 서다, which means to stand. And 앉아 is a present verb of 앉다, which means to sit. So it means to stay standing, to stay seated. So not all verbs can be used in this expression, but there are a limited number of verbs that can be used like this. And the most commonly used ones are these two. And also 남아있다 as well. This is also used to mean someone stays remaining in a certain place. So it means I still remain at that place, that first place where I danced my everyday. And also where I dreamt the path that I am walking on currently. Back then, right? At the place where I was back then, I still remain there. So yes, that is the meaning of the lyrics here. Okay. And so are you guys following me? Guys, so don't worry about it. I will post a review note after this lesson because there are a lot that we should process and we should take notes of. So don't worry about it. I actually already prepared the review note, so you can just focus on the lesson now. And if you don't remember, if you don't get certain concepts of the grammar, then you can always check back on the review note or also the saved video of this class. I'm going to save it afterwards, so don't worry too much about it. And next one, so these are all English, so we'll just pass. And you'll never know 엉켜버린 내 끈. 엉켜버린 내 끈. And seeing that this is in a pink marker, we can know that this is also an auxiliary verb. Auxiliary verb. So it's a combination of the verb 엉키다. 엉키다. Let's zoom it out a bit. 엉키다, which means to be tangled. To be tangled. Combined with the auxiliary verb 버리다. 버리다. So 버리다, when it's just a normal verb, it means to throw away. To throw away. But when it's an auxiliary verb combined after a present stem, it has a meaning of... I have written it down here. It has a meaning of the completeness of the action. However, that's not it. Completeness of the action. And there is some sort of emotion involved. Some sort of emotion involved in this auxiliary verb. So yes, it means to end up doing that verb, to end up the verb being happening. But it also has an emotion. So first, it implies the emotion of regret, unhappiness, or surprise about certain undesirable action. What did I just say? Surprise, right? And it also has a meaning. It also adds the emotion of relief. Relief. So for example, if you say 제프가 go, right? 가버렸어요. 제프가 가버렸어요. So it means Jeff ended up going. So Jeff left, right? That's the completeness of his action of going. Jeff just left. And I feel, unhappy about it. 제프가 가버렸어요. So it has that meaning. So this auxiliary verbs are it will come in very handy because you don't have to express the fact that you are unhappy or regretful about that action, but just by putting this auxiliary verb, it means all of this. Do you guys know what I mean? So yes, 버리다 means that. And there are other examples too. For example, to 잃다 means to lose. And when we say we lost something, it means it usually follows the emotion of not being happy, right? So we say 잃어버리다. We combine the verb 잃다 with 버리다, and it means I lost it. I lost it and I don't feel good about it. 지갑을 잃어버렸어요. 지갑을 잃어버렸어요. I lost my wallet. I lost my wallet. So it sounds much more natural than just saying 지갑을 잃었어요. But 지갑을 잃어버렸어요. I lost it. And also, it also has a meaning of relief. So you can say 숙제를, homework, 다, all, 끝내버렸어요. 끝내버렸어요. So 끝내다 is a verb that means to end. To end. So 끝나다 and 끝내다's difference is that 끝나다 means something ends. Something ends. So it's a passive verb, whereas 끝내다 means someone ends something. Someone ends something. So it means I finished, right? I finished all my homework, and by 버리다, we can sense a sense of relief from the speaker. 숙제를 다 끝내버렸어요. I feel so 시원해 because my homework is done and I'm really relieved and happy about it, right? And also you can say, let's do one more example sentence. 빚을 다 갚아버렸어요. 갚아버렸어요. So it can be a little bit advanced sentence. So 빚 here with 치읓 받침, not 치읓 받침. It means totally different things. 빚 means light, and 빚 with 치읓 받침 means debt. Debt. So 빚을 다 갚다 means to pay back. 갚아버렸어요. I paid off all my debt and I feel relief about it, right? 빚을 다 갚아버렸어요. So 갚아버리다, 잃어버리다 are the two most commonly used verbs with auxiliary 버리다 verb. And so I think you guys can guess what 엉켜버리다 means now. 엉켜버리다, 엉켜버리다, 엉켜버리다. It means to end up getting tangled. And by putting 엉켜버리다, sorry guys, 엉켜버리다, 엉켜버리다. And then you can see that with the stem, 니은 받침 is added, right? 니은 받침. And we learned that by doing this, it makes the verb in a past tense modifier. So 엉켜버린 내 끈 means my string that ended up, past form, right? That ended up getting tangled. So you'll never know the strings of my shoes that ended up getting tangled is what this means. And next ones. So, are you guys following me okay, guys? Are you guys following me okay? I am pretty sure that... So, a lot of my viewers are at a beginner levels, but I also have viewers who are at like intermediate or pre-intermediate level. And I think this lesson kind of suits pre-intermediate to intermediate level. So I understand that if you are at a very beginner level, this lesson would be quite difficult to follow. But if you would like to stay and take away some of the things that you do understand, then that's also desirable as well. So it's up to you guys. And yes, so I will continue with the lesson. So let's look at the next part. 깊이 숨겼던 낡은 생각들. So 낡다 with 은. So this is an adjective that's in modifier form, right? 낡은 생각들. It modifies the noun 생각들. So let's use this paper. 낡다 means to be old, but not for a person to be old, but it's used when you're talking about an object being old. So thoughts, 낡은 thoughts means old thoughts. 깊이 숨겼던. So this is also another past form modifier, right? And 숨기다. 숨기다 means to hide something. And 숨기다's past tense is 숨겼, right? 숨겼. So that I hid, right? Because it's in past tense. That I hid 깊이, deeply. So the thoughts, the old thoughts that I have hidden deeply. 생각들, 가끔, sometimes, 나를 잡다. 잡다 means to catch or to grab. 잡다 means to catch or to grab. 나를 잡고, 고, we learned that this comes from 그리고. It's a conjunction, right? So it means and. It catches me and 괴롭히다. 괴롭히다. It's a combination of 괴롭히다 and 지만 from 하지만, right? That means but. So 괴롭히다. Okay, let's use this part of the paper. 괴롭히다 means to bully. The first meaning is to bully someone. It also means to torment someone, to trouble someone. So it's a verb with negative meaning. So to give trouble to someone, to torment someone. So those thoughts, those old thoughts that I have hidden deeply, sometimes catch me and torment me. But 괴롭히지만, but 그럴수록. So there is another very important expression here. 리을 받침 수록. 그럴수록. Okay, so when you say 리을 받침, the stem of the verb 리을 받침을 수록, in the next sentence, it means, or verb or adjective, the more verb or the more the adjective, the more the following sentence. So let's look at the example. You can say 너를 보다 means to see, right? 보 리을 받침 볼수록. The more I look at you, 너를 볼수록 나는 행복해. I am happy. The more I look at you, I am happy. And you can also say, let's go with the adjective this time. Let's say, so you guys remember 짧다? 짧다 means to be short, as in length. Not in height, but length of something. So 짤, the stem, and this one has 받침, so 을수록, 짧을수록 좋아. 짧을수록 좋아 means the shorter, 짧을수록, the shorter, the better. So it has that meaning. The more something is, the more the following sentence is. So 그럴수록 is also the phrase where 일수록 is used. And here, this is a combination of the verb 그렇다 and 리을 받침 을수록. 그렇다 is a verb that means to be like that. To be like that. And you can also write it like this. To be like this. But here it means to be like that. To be like that combined with 리을 받침 수록. So this is an irregular verb. So you take out 히읗 받침 of the stem and instead replace it with 리을 받침. So it becomes 그럴수록. The more it is like that, right? So like that is what's stated in the previous lyrics. The more it torments me. 그럴수록, the more it's like that, I'm a shine. I'm a shine. So let's translate I'm a shine in Korean. So I'm going to shine. You have to use the future tense, right? To shine means to 빛나다. 빛나다. And I will shine. 빛나 리을 받침 in the stem. 빛날 거야. 빛날 거야. 그럴수록 나는 빛날 거야. 그럴수록 나는 빛날 거야. 그럴수록 I'm gonna shine, right? Okay, and next ones. Okay, so this part is actually my favorite part of the lyrics and also the most complex sentence of the whole lyrics here. But don't worry about it. We'll manage to finish it. So, 나도 잘 모르는 날 누가 알아주길 기대하는 내 모습을 찾을까 두려워. 나도 잘 모르는 날. So, okay, let's write it once again on our notebook so that we can break it down better. So, 나도 잘 모르는 날, right? But 날 is an abbreviation of 나를. So, let's write the full words. 나를. 나도 잘 모르는 나를 누가 알아주길. 길 is also a abbreviation of 길을. So let's write it in full. 누가 알아주기를. 누가 알아주기를. 알아주기를 기대하는 내 모습을 찾을까 두려워. 기대하는 내 모습을. It's already getting complex, right? 모습을 찾을까 두려워. Okay, so what stands out to me or you guys the most is that there are 1, 2, 3 object marking particles. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 verbs and adjectives. So there are total 5 verbs and 3 object marking particles. So we can already notice that, oh, this is quite a complex sentence. Okay, so let's start with the first one. 나도 잘 모르는 나. 나도 잘 모르는 나. Okay, so 나 means me and 모르는, by putting 는 after a verb, we know that this is a modifying verb, right? So it modifies 나. 나도, even I. So 도 here is a particle 도. That means too. So even I, me too, even I, well, don't know. 모르다, right? 모르다 means to not know. Me, that even I don't know well. The me that I don't even, the me that even I don't know well. And this is an object. And which verb's object is it? Which verbs? 알아주다. 알아주다. So 알아주다 is an auxiliary verb form, right? 알다 plus 주다 verb. So 주다, we learned, means to do someone a favor of doing that verb, right? So it means wanting someone to notice me, wanting someone to notice me that even I don't even know. And 누가 here, we learned, means who, right? We learned that 누가 is a combination of 누구, which means who, and 가, the subject marking particle, and it becomes 누가, right? So 누가 is it means who in subject place, but 누가 can also mean somebody. Somebody. So somebody notice me that even I don't even know. That even I don't even know. And by putting 기 after 알아주다 verb, this whole thing becomes a noun, right? So it means somebody noticing me that I don't even know, right? And this whole thing is once again an object, right? So which verb's object is this whole thing is? 기대하다. 기대하다's object. 기대하다 means to expect. Expect. So, 나도 잘 모르는 나를 누가 알아주기를 기대하다 means to expect someone to notice me that I don't even know. And once again, by putting 는, this becomes a modifier of the next noun, right? And 내 모습, 모습 is a very common word, and we also learned about this in our previous lyrics lesson. And it first has a meaning of appearance or figure. And secondly, it has a meaning of aspect. Aspect. And here, it means the second one, aspect. So the side of me, 내 모습, my aspect, the side of me that expects for somebody to notice myself that I don't even know, right? That side of me. And this again is an object, object of 찾다, 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 찾다. Guys, we learned about the two meanings of 찾다, right? I posted on my Instagram, right? And its first meaning is to look for. So you haven't found it yet, but you're in the process of looking for something. In those cases, you can use 찾다. But we also learned that it also has a meaning of find. You already found it, and it has both of its meanings. So that's why it can sometimes be confusing, but if you look at the context closely, it wouldn't be hard to tell which meaning that verb is used in, right? And here, it means to find, or better translation, discover. Discover. So, 찾다. 찾다. Okay, so let's look at the letter part soon, but let's focus on the parts that we have come so far. So discover, 찾다, discover the side of me that expects somebody to notice the me that I don't even know. 을까 두려워, 을까 두려워. So this is the whole point of this whole sentence. So this is the point. 두려워, 두려워. As you can see from 워, its base form is 비읍 받침. 두렵다, 두렵다. And we already learned in our adjective lesson that adjectives with 비읍 받침 follows a different role, right? So 두렵다 means to be scared, to be afraid. To be afraid, sorry, to be afraid. So it means she's afraid. She's afraid. 을까 두려워. 을까 두려워. So this is another expression that are used often. Actually, its correct form is 까봐 두려워, or 까봐 걱정되다. 걱정되다. So it is used. This expression is usually used with negative emotions such as fear and worry. And 걱정되다 means to be worried, and 두려워 it's already a conjugated form of 두렵다, right? So is afraid that this verb might happen. So verb 을까봐 두려워 means to be afraid that this might happen, and to be worried that this might happen. And sometimes 봐 can be excluded, and you can just say 을까 두려워. And that's how it's written in this lyric. So rather than 찾을까봐 두려워, it says 찾을까 두려워. And both are correct. You can go with or without 봐. 까 두려워, 까봐 두려워. So now everything is complete. She is afraid. She is afraid of what? Finding. Find what? My side. My aspect. The side of me. What kind of side? that expect somebody to notice me that even I don't even know. 나도 잘 모르는 날 누가 알아주길 기대하는 내 모습을 찾을까 두려워. So I'm afraid that I might expect someone else to understand myself that even I don't even know well. So this part really hit me. Sorry guys, there was a bit of a halt, lag, I think. Sorry guys. So yeah, that this part of the lyrics is what I related. Yeah, it's what I related and what hit me hard. So are you guys following me well? The lyrics were too deep. Wow, yes, you see what I mean? The lyrics are very deep. And I really like this sentence. It was really fun while breaking it down when I was preparing for this lesson. So yeah, it's a very deep lyric. And we're almost toward the end. 다 끝나가요, 여러분. 다 끝나가요. 수업이 끝나가요. 수업이 끝나가요. The class is getting toward the end. The 가요 auxiliary verb, right? Okay, so let's move on to the next part. 저 빛이 더 밝아질수록 내 그림자도 길어지는데. Let's paraphrase it a little bit and just make it 길어져. Let's just conjugate it in present form. 길어져. 저 빛이 더 밝아질수록. Okay, so here appears the expression that we learned in the previous part of the lyrics. 리을 받침을 수록. 리을 받침을 수록. Do you remember what this means? It means the more verb, the more the following sentence. Right? So the more the light gets brighter, the more my shadow gets longer is the meaning of this part. But let's try to break it down since there could be some of you who don't understand, right? Because it's new. 저 빛이, that light over there, right? 빛, we learn means light. That light, 더, more, 밝아. Oh wait, sorry. This auxiliary verb we haven't learned yet, guys. We just learned 리을수록, right? The more, but we haven't learned this auxiliary verb. So this is a verb where 밝다 and 지다 auxiliary verb are combined. And what this verb does is it has a meaning of to turn, to get, to become. Can you guys see this? To turn, to get, to become that verb or that adjective. So it implies the change that is happening over time. So 밝아지다. 밝다's present stem. 밝아지다 means to become brighter. Become brighter. 밝다 means to be bright. To be bright. To be brighter. So the more that light gets brighter, the more my 그림자, my shadow as well, 길어져, 길어져. I think now you can guess what 길어져 means. It's a combination of the adjective 길다 with 지다 auxiliary verb. So 길다 we learn means to be long, right? To be long. To become long, right? To become long. To become longer. So the more the light shines, the more my shadows become longer. And 너무 눈이 부셔올 때 난 뒤를 볼 수 있을까? So we also learned that 때 means the time, right? So 그때 means that time, but it also means when it's combined with a verb, it becomes a conjunction. That means when that verb happens. When that verb happens. So this is a combination of 리을 때 and 부셔오다. 부셔오다. And by hearing that word, 부셔오다, we can immediately know that, oh, that's a combined verb, right? With the auxiliary verb, 부셔오다, 부셔오다. So 오다 here is an auxiliary verb, and 부시다, the combination of 부시다 plus 오다. And let's look at this auxiliary verb first. So do you remember what 가다 auxiliary verb means? 가다 was to express that the verb is a continuous action that's going toward the future, right? So when we say 수업이, class, 수업이 끝나가요, 끝나가요, it means the class is getting toward the end, right? It's continuing to that end that will happen in the future, right? And 오다 means something similar. 오다 means something similar, so it's not the opposite meaning, but it's different in that that action is not moving away from the speaker, but it's coming toward the speaker. It's coming toward the speaker, and it's still a continuous action. So, whereas 가다 is the action that's moving toward the past, 오다 is used to express that the action is coming toward the present. So, 끝나가다, whereas, so 오다. What is the best example sentence for 오다? Oh, okay, so you can say 지금까지, so far, till now, so far. 잘, well, 살아, live, right? 살아오다, 살아왔어요. So far, well, live, 왔어요. So I have been living well so far. So it's a 살아, to live is an action. To live well is an action that's coming toward the speaker to a present. So it's something that happened from the past and it's continuing till present. So this auxiliary verb is something that deserves a separate lesson, but I wanted you to get the hang of it. So that's what it means. And also you can say 사장님이, the boss, 회사를, the company, 사장님이 회사를 you can say 운영하다 means to manage. You don't have to memorize these vocabularies, but I'm just giving you a good example sentence. So 운영해, present verb, 운영해 왔어요. So the boss managing the company well is something that started in the past and that's continuing toward the present, right? So this is the case when you can use 오다 auxiliary verb. So auxiliary verbs can be kind of confusing, especially if you try to use it. But I guess just understanding the usage of it and not really expecting that you can use these auxiliary verbs right away in your conversation would be more ideal. So because understanding has to come first and then it will stick in your head, right? So yes, that's what 오다 auxiliary verb mean. So 눈이 부셔올 때, 너무 눈이 부셔올 때. To be honest, you can just say 눈이 부실 때. You don't have to go with the auxiliary verb 오다 here, but this is the lyrics, right? So it has deeper meaning, or it has to follow that beat, that certain number of letters that has to be in the lyrics, so that's understandable. And 너무 눈이 부시다, 너무 부셔오다, combined with 때. So we learned that this means when that verb happens, right? And 너무 눈이 부셔오다 means too much, right? 눈이 부셔오다. Okay, let's just change it to 눈이 부시다, guys. It doesn't matter. 눈이 부시다. So 눈이 부시다 has two meanings. It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor for dazzling. Something is, 네 드레스, your dress, 너무 눈이 부셔. It's so dazzling. 너무 눈이 부셔. But it also means there are too much light on your eyes. 눈, we learn, means eyes, right? And 부시다, when eyes are 부시다, it means there are too much light on your eyes that you can barely open your eyes. So it has a literal meaning. Literal meaning, literally, I cannot open my eyes because there's too much light. And here, it has a second meaning. So, when there are too much light on my eyes, when there are too much light on my eyes, 난 뒤를 볼 수 있을까? 난 뒤를 볼 수 있을까? 뒤 means back. Back and up means front. And 뒤 means back. 뒤를 볼 수 있을까? 볼 수 있을까? 보다 수 있다. 을까? So 볼 수 있을까 is a combination of the verb 보다 combined with 수 있다 combined with the sentence ending 을까. So when we say 수 있다, it means to can, right? To be able to. So 볼 수 있다. 볼 수 있다 means can see, to be able to see. 을까? 을까? We learned that this means a suggestion like shall we verb, or it can also be a question of wondering to oneself, right? So it has the second meaning, a question of wondering to oneself. So will I be able to see? Will I be able to see what? The back. Will I be able to see the back? Will I be able to turn around when there are too much light on my eyes? That's what it means. And do auxiliary verbs belong to intermediate level lesson or advanced level lesson? Oh, okay. So that's a good question. So actually, I guess neither. So I'm not sure if you guys have watched my 7 basics to Korean grammar lesson, but in that lesson I mentioned this book. And this is a book published by Tarak-won, and they have a series of Korean grammar in use, starting from beginning, intermediate to advanced. So it's in 3 parts, and I know that Korean level cannot be, divided into only 3 parts, because in that one part there are diverse levels. In the second level there are also diverse sub-levels, and in the third level there are also diverse sub-levels, right? So I am kind of hesitant to say or to decide which level the auxiliary verb belongs to, but that auxiliary verb is in the beginning level grammar of this publisher. So it's not an advanced level. It's hard, but it's not an advanced level. So like I said, guys, this lyrics don't go too far off the level that we are at. So I understand that it's hard, but the advanced level grammar is harder. It's harder than this one. So I try to think of the lyrics that I wouldn't have too much difficulty explaining, and you guys wouldn't have too much difficulty understanding. So yes. Okay, guys, I hope, regardless, that you guys have been following well till here. Thank you so much for the 100 of you guys who are still staying with me. And don't worry if you have forgotten some of the parts that we learned here, because the review note will be up on my website, so you can check that review note so that you can remember better. And okay, so this is the last part of the lyrics that we'll cover in this lesson, guys. Okay, we can do it. 할 수 있어요. 할 수 있어. 할 수 있어요. 자, 해봅시다. 내가 그려왔던 그림 속에. So this has both 던 suffix that modifies the noun after it. And it's also an auxiliary verb. Combination of 그리다 plus 오다, right? So this means it has to be conjugated in present form, and you combine it with 오다, auxiliary verb. And do you guys remember what 오다, auxiliary verb, did? Oh, Romina, thank you so much. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate your gift. So 오다 is used to express that the action is continuous. The continuous action is coming toward the present, right? So 그려왔던 그림 means the picture that I have drawn, that I have been drawing from the past till now. So 그리다, we learned in our previous lesson, means to draw, right? So 그리다's present form is 그려. And Elida, thank you. Thank you very much, Elida. Every time. 그려왔던 그림. The picture. So 그리다 means to draw, and 그림 means picture or drawing. So the drawing that I have drawn, 속에, 속 means inside. Inside에. And you can also say 안에. So inside the picture that I have drawn, 찢어버린 곳들까지. So here, the auxiliary verb that we learned in the first half of this lesson appears again. 찢다, the verb 찢다 combined with 버리다. Do you guys remember what the auxiliary verb 버리다 means? It means the completeness of the action, to end up doing that action or that action being happening. And we also learned that that entails an emotion. So first emotion is regret or unhappiness or surprise, right? And the second emotion is relief. And 찢다 means to tear or to rip something off. And when you say 찢어버리다, it means to end up ripping out something, like tearing it out. So here, I guess, I'm pretty sure it's close to the meaning of unhappy, right? Because you rip something off because you are not happy about something, right? Or maybe sometimes you can say 찢어버리다 when you want to say that you felt relief from it, because it has the kind of release of certain psychological chemicals, right? When you're ripping something off, such as paper, it can sometimes be thrilling, right? So in those kinds of contexts, it can mean relief, but I'm pretty sure that here it means unhappiness. So inside the picture that I have drawn, 찢어버린 곳들까지, place, right? Places, right? 들, we learned about the particle 들, the plural making particle. So places that I have torn apart, that I have torn out. And here we know that it means past. This is a past form modifier because of the 니은 받침 here. We learn how to make the verb in past tense, the modifying verb in past tense, right? You either put the suffix 던 or 니은 or 은, right? If the stem doesn't have 받침, you go with 니은. So 찢어버린 곳들까지, the places that I have torn, 까지. So I'm pretty sure that you guys remember A부터 B까지. A부터 B까지 means, or A에서 means from A to B. From A to B. So 머리부터 발끝까지 means from head to toe. 머리부터 발끝까지. So 까지 usually means to or till. However, 까지 can also mean even. Even the noun. So you can say it like this. 네 단점까지 사랑해. 네 단점까지 사랑해. 네 is a combination, it's an abbreviation of 너의, which means your. Your 단점 means disadvantage, so it means flaw. Your flaw까지 사랑해. I love even your flaws. So 까지 has the meaning of even. So even the places that I have ripped out in the drawing that I have drawn, 다 비워내고, 다 비워내고. Another and the last auxiliary verb in this lyrics, 비워내다, 비워내다. So we can guess that the auxiliary verb is 내다, 내다. And it's combined with the verb 비우다, 비우다. So 비우다 combined with the auxiliary verb 내다 becomes 비워내다, and 비우다 means to empty something out. To empty something out. To empty something, and by putting 내다, it becomes a similar meaning of to empty out. To empty out. So we have to look at 내다, our last auxiliary verb. So this is not all the auxiliary verbs there is in Korean. There's actually a lot more than this, but these are the ones that appeared in the lyrics, so that's why we are covering these specific auxiliary verbs. And 내다 auxiliary verbs, it's a meaning of, it adds a meaning of to do all the way, to do all the way to the very end. To do all the way to the very end. So it might seem similar to 버리다, in that 버리다 also meant the completeness of the action, but it's different in that 내다, auxiliary verb, often implies that doing that verb, finishing that verb, was a difficult or a challenging task. 버리다 doesn't imply that, but 내다 implies that doing that action was quite difficult and there was a bit of challenge along the way. So 비워내다 means to empty out, but to be, more specific and nuanced, you can say to manage, to successfully manage to empty something. So when you say, I made it, like I did this successfully, I made it, we also say 해내다, 해내다, 해내다. 하다 is present form, right? 하다, do. 내다. So I have completed doing it, completed something that's challenging. I completed something that's challenging. So 나 해냈어. 내가 해냈어. I did it. Like I made it. 해냈어요. You can use it like that. And another good example would be 더위를 참아냈어요. 더위를 참아냈어요. 더위 means heat. 더위 means heat. So heat from the weather. 더위를 참다 means to bear, to tolerate. And 내다 is an auxiliary verb, right? So I successfully managed to tolerate the heat. 더위를 참아냈어요. And tolerating the heat is not an easy job, right? So in these kinds of verbs and situations, you can go with the auxiliary verb 내다. Okay. So by saying 비워내다, she managed to empty out everything, even the parts that she has torn apart in the picture that she has drawn, right? 다 비워내고, and 웃을 수 있게. So this is what decides the meaning of this whole sentence. So I'm pretty sure that you guys have noticed. So there's a saying, there's a kind of a saying in Korean that goes like this. 한국어는 끝까지. Sorry about the pen. Where's my normal pen with lots of ink? There you go. 끝까지 들어봐야 안다. There's a saying that goes like this. 한국어는 끝까지 들어봐야 안다. So it basically means for Korean language, you have to listen to the very end to know what the intention of that speech is. Because so the verb plays a very important part in a sentence, right? It pretty much decides kind of where the sentence is flowing, right? And in Korean sentence, the verb is placed at the very last part, right? And also the particles are placed after a noun, and also the sentence ending that decides the tone, right? Or the intention of the sentence. They're all placed behind, right? So you have to listen carefully till the end when it comes to Korean to understand what the exact intention of the speaker is or where the speaker is going. And so this part of the lyrics reminded me of this because 웃을 수 있게. So we haven't learned this yet. We just learned that sometimes by putting 게 to a certain adjective, like 쉽게 or 빠르게, the adjective becomes an adverb. So 쉽게 means easily, and 빠르게 is an adverb that means fast. However, when 게 is used with the verb, it means in order to do the verb. So, in order to 웃을 수 있다. You know this, right? 웃다, to smile or to laugh. 수 있다, can, be able to, right? So, in order to be able to smile and empty out even the parts that I have torn apart inside the picture that I have drawn, in order to do that, so this whole thing was an intention. And for this intention, I am going to do this action. So this is the consequence. 보기 싫었던 나와 마주할래. 보기 싫었던 나와 마주할래. So 마주하다 here means to face. It's a verb that means to face. And 마주하다, face with me. And 리을 받침 레 is basically, it's basically the same meaning as 겠어, 하겠어, 할래, 하겠어, 할래, or 할 거야. They all mean pretty much the same thing. So in different contexts, there might be a little bit of difference and nuance, but they basically mean the same thing. It's talking about what they will do in the future, their future determination. So it means I will face, 마주할래. I will face with myself. And what kind of myself is contained here, right? 보기 싫었던. So, 기 싫다 is another expression that it's used quite often. 기 싫다 means to not want to do the verb. And here it's 싫었던, so it's past modifier, right? So myself that I didn't want to 보다, that I didn't want to see, that I didn't want to look at, I will face. So I will face myself that I haven't wanted to see in order to be able to smile and to empty out even the parts that I have torn apart inside the picture that I have drawn till now, right? Okay, so that's the meaning of the lyrics of, what was this? You Never Know by Blackpink. And I thought the song was pretty good too, like the melody and I really liked it. So So yes, and I also enjoyed doing the class, and thank you so much for staying, guys. I know that it was not easy to follow, but like I told you guys, there will be, I actually already uploaded the review note on my website, explorekorean.com, after I turned on this stream. So you can go check it out. Right now it's also available. I mean, it's not going anywhere. It's just going to stay there, right? And you can also come back to the parts in the video, in the saved video of this lesson where you couldn't fully understand. So yes, you can do that. And thank you so much again, guys, for joining. And please check out the review note. And I will see you in the next lesson, guys. So bye-bye. 수업에 와주셔서 감사합니다. 안녕. 모두 안녕.